right, so here's our studio. Make that a bit bigger. Give it a project. Data course is on. So we're all working on the same file path. Did anyone find the walkthrough for the exam? I sent a link.
I saw it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's there if you want. It's about 20 minutes long, maybe 25, and I walked through the exam. To be honest, I haven't seen that exam since I wrote it, and so I made a couple mistakes while doing it, which is kind of fun. So you get to see me screw up and curse at my computer and try to figure out my code. So go ahead and close that out. Save, don't save. Today, I want to talk about the structure of the data that we use. So far, right, we just type in data, iris, and structure, iris. It comes out in this nice, beautiful, tidy format that's like fun and easy to work with. If I'm making a plot of this, ggplot, good old iris, aesthetics, x equals c length, y equals c ball, width, color equals species, that classic graph, plus geom point. Oh, it's not working because I forgot to load tidyverse. Set species not found. Okay. That works because this data is in a specific format. The reason we want our data to be in a specific format is so we can do things like modeling and plotting it really easily and intuitively. sepal length happens to be the name of a column, and that's what ggplot really wants to work with. Okay. Species happens to be the name of a column. That's what ggplot really wants to work with. When you get data, I can almost guarantee that it's not going to be in this nice tidy format to start with. That's just not how people enter data. Right? If I look at this, it's nice and tidy. In your assignment this week on the website, I gave you 2 papers, the tidy data chapter and transforming data frames. You need to read both of those for sure and work through them because they're about how to get your data into this nice, shiny, tidy format. Right? So what you want is every observation to be its own row and every variable to be its own column.
Dr. Song, can you show us one more time? Your screen was glitching.
Oh, sorry. So these 2 papers. I also sent this out in Canvas. Links to these.
Okay, thank you.
So it's the tidy data chapter right here. It's not too long. I just kind of walk you through what makes data tidy and show you a few exercises. And then the transforming data. We might get to this today. A good chance of it, but mostly we're going to be sticking in here looking at what makes data tidy. Okay. So in the example he gives you here, it's kind of like a visual example of what tidy data looks like. Every column is its own variable. Okay. Every observation is its own row. Every cell in there is a value. Okay. A value of that variable at that observation. Is that making any sense? Maybe? Okay.
Yes, that makes sense.
All right, so can you think of an example where data isn't recorded this way? I'm sure you've seen it and just hadn't noticed. So if I open up Excel, right, and I'm gonna enter some data, I might say, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3, and I'm making some measurements. Like that, okay? So we're looking at something over time. What's wrong with this data format? Anyone? No one? Take a guess. Is my mic on? Is this working?
It's working. We're just clueless.
Okay. This is how people enter data. It feels natural, doesn't it? Okay. If we add a column here and I say this is like grams or whatever, okay. How would I plot this? As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and save this as a CSV. I'm going to put it in data course Zon data. I'm going to call it baddata.csv. I'm going to tell Excel not to put quotes around anything and to go ahead and keep the comma. All right, so now I'm going to open it up here. Read CSV data baddata.csv. So there it is. We got day 1, day 2, day 3. I'll import that as an object called df. All right, so here it is in R. How do I plot these grams over time using ggplot? ggplot df aesthetic. What do I put on the x-axis? Day 1, day 2, or day 3? What do I really want to plot something over time?
Yeah, you want actual intervals.
I do. I want a column that lists day. And so I saw a comment there that day are all the same type of variable. It's more than that. Day is a variable. I've just spread it out over 3 columns. That's how people tend to enter data, and that's how you're probably going to get it, is a variable that's been spread out over multiple columns. This happens constantly. It's a nightmare. People using Excel is always the bane of anyone trying to analyze the data, because you can enter the data any which way you choose. Okay, people leave like blank lines at the beginning. They add colors. They put several data frames on the same Excel sheet. It's really obnoxious. Okay, it's such a problem that R has basically, through tidyverse, built in a couple ways of dealing with this pretty easily, because it's such a common thing that you have to do for data. I want a column that says day, and I want it to be like this: day 1, 1, or 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3. And I want a column that's grams: 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. Can you see that both of these little clusters of data here are showing the same information. But with day, we're repeating that variable 3 times because we had 3 observations in day 1, 3 for day 2, 3 for day 3. Okay. This is the format that we want for plotting. It's also the format we want for any statistical testing that we do, making linear regression models or anything like that. So I want to get my data into this format, but what I don't want to do ever is go into the Excel spreadsheet and edit it manually. Why not?
It's more likely that you're dealing with more data, right? So it will just take longer.
It's going to take forever, that's for sure.
Oh.
And what are the odds that you're not going to make any mistakes, right? We need to treat our data as read-only. Okay, we never want to directly edit the raw data in an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV or anything like that. We want to do all of our cleaning using code. All right. So to get it into that format, we've got a couple little helper variables, okay, or functions. First one is pivot longer. And if you look at this, you can see that this looks wide, that one looks long. And those are the terms for these 2 different types of data. This is in wide format, this is in long format. Sometimes we want our data to be in wide format, but more often than not, we want it to be in long format. That's what ggplot wants, okay? That's what an analysis variance is looking for. You want to be able to give it the name of a column that is a variable of interest. So pivot longer is the function that helps us do this. So let's take a look at that. Pivot data from wide to long. Okay, it lengthens your data, increasing the number of rows and decreasing the number of columns. Okay. So let's see here. It wants the data frame. It wants a list of the columns to pivot into longer format, and it wants something called names to, a string specifying the name of the column to create from the data stored in the column names of data. What in the world? Let's see how this works. We're going to give it our data frame, df, which is in nice, ugly, wide format. We're going to give it the columns. So we could pass that a list of column names or just the column positions. So we want columns 1 through 3 in this case. Names to. Okay. A string specifying the name of the column to create. Names to, what should we call this?
Days.
Let's call it days. Bingo, you're done. And by default, it calls your output value value. We can also say, what is the function for it? So names prefix, values to, grams. Okay. So that's really fast. It's nice and easy. It puts it in long format for me. I'm going to call this df long. Right. This pivot longer function is one I guarantee you're going to be using a lot. In this class, you're going to be using it a lot, but when you get out into real world data, start working on your own projects, you're going to be using it constantly. So get to know it. Right. Learn to recognize when data is in wide format versus long format. So now with df long, let's plot it. What's my x-axis going to be now?
It's going to be day.
Yeah, days. Y equals grams. And what geom do I want to plot this in? Oops, I didn't save df long. There we go. All right, so we made a little column chart. Okay. Days and grams. This could be cleaner though. What do you think my problem with the x-axis is?
It's kind of redundant to say days, day 1, day 2. You just say 1, 2, 3 instead.
1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3 would be numeric, and so we could actually plot like a line chart, right? So how would I change day 1, day 2, day 3 to just 1, 2, 3? We just need to strip the letters D-A-Y, capital D-A-Y, off of each one of those. So let's look at df long again. We got a column called days. They all start with the word day. I want to get rid of that. Okay. So string remove, str remove, there's str replace, so you can replace patterns, you can remove them. I'm going to go with remove. I'm going to give it the string, which is df long days, and I'm going to tell it the pattern to search for, day. Now look at it. It just got rid of day. Okay, so string remove is a nice cleaning tool. String replace, I'll show you how to use that. String replace. Copy, paste. See how that works? Nice and simple. All right. So if I've got this, how do I then stick that back into my data frame with the days removed?
Just assign that to df underscore long.
Close. This is just a vector right there. If I assign that to df underscore long, that's going to delete my data frame and just insert this string of numbers there in character format. I want to send it to df long days. So I'm going to copy that, paste it there. Okay, so we're overriding df long days with a new version of it, which is string remove df long days, where we've removed the word day. Okay, so now df long days is almost there. Not quite ready for graphing though. What's wrong with it still?
The numbers are being treated as strings, right?
Yep, those aren't numbers. They got quotes around them, so they're strings. Class df long days, it's character. So I need to say as numeric. Okay, so df long days is now as numeric df long days. All right, so we got numbers. We got rid of that pesky day. All right, so when I look at df long now, we got days, that's numeric, grams is numeric. So now we don't have to use our geom call. We can say geom point. We can say geom box plot. We could say geom line. worked weird. We didn't give it a grouping variable. Geom smooth. Okay, so we did a lot of cleaning there. We converted wide to long format, and then we took out the word day, which was redundant, and made it so that we couldn't have numbers. And then we cleaned it up, turned it numeric, and only then can we actually start plotting. Okay. This is the reality of working with any data set. Unless you design the project and entered all the data yourself, it's gonna come back in a way that's not ready to plot with. So fortunately, the tidyverse does give us these nice little tools like pivot longer, string remove. Okay, so it makes it into, I wouldn't say a trivial task, but just a couple lines of code and we're cleaned up. All right, open up in data. I've got wide data example.xlsx. Okay. I want you to read that in and clean it up. To read it in, since it's an Excel file, you're going to need read Excel. So the read Excel package. Install read XL. Go ahead and install that. It's pretty quick package. Do it here. Do you want to restart R prior to installing? No. It'll be fine. Okay. Yeah, just 2 megabytes. That'll be quick for you. I say it's going to be quick, and I've already got it installed, and it's still taking its time. Ah, at last. Okay. Library, read Excel. Oh, come on. All right, I'm going to restart RStudio. Don't save. Project, data course on. All right, put your little cartoon hand up when you've got the read Excel package installed. Library, tidyverse. Library, read Excel. So read XLSX will let you read that in. Wide data example.xlsx. Let's take a look at it. Okay. I would like you to put this into long format. And we can all chat our way through it so you don't get stuck forever. What is
data?
wide about this?
What data were we loading up again?
Oh,
Another
it's
file?
it's in your data folder. It's called wide data example.xlsx.
Okay.
Cool. All right, everyone's hands. Cool, awesome. All right. You need this screen up still? Anyone? Oh, all right. So, what's wide about this data frame?
Sorry, your question was, what is wide about this data frame?
Yeah, what's wide about it?
The fact that there are 2 treatments and a sample ID, right? That makes it wide.
Yeah, treatment is the variable. That's the thing you're changing. So in this example, I don't know, you're measuring mice and you gave one a high-fat diet and one a low-fat diet, whatever. Treatment 1 and treatment 2. That's a variable. It's a single variable. You varied the treatment. You made some observations at each treatment and observed some value, mass, whatever, length, IQ, who cares? We need to get treatment to be one column that repeats 1 13 times and then 2 13 times. What is our magic button for that? The function that converts from wide to long. Pivot longer. So it wants our data. It wants the columns. Okay. It wants names too. It wants something called values too if you want. So we can call that mass. Grams. No, I don't want those in mine. Let's call it mass G. Names prefix. Can't combine treatment 1 and treatment 2 double. I forgot I made this even messier than I remembered. So we got an error. What's happening?
I was able to fix it. I don't know why it auto-populated a tilde or whatever you call it in there.
How'd you get by this error here?
Oh, not that. Well, I thought you were talking about the error I posted in chat.
Oh,
Could you combine them so they're the same type? Like, so they're either both character or we want them as a different, like a numeric or something?
we do want them to be numeric, but if we look at them, you can see why treatment 1 is treated as a character. It's because the first value is a question mark. So some idiot was entering this data and they're not data savvy, and so they don't realize that putting a question mark there is going to get the whole column treated as character by the computer. The idiot was me, and I do remember doing that on purpose. This will happen. if you're entering data in an Excel spreadsheet and you don't have a value, put NA, just capital N, capital A, and R is capable of handling that. But sometimes people will put a question mark, or they'll just leave it blank or whatever. So we do need to convert them both to the same type.
As numeric then?
As numeric's not going to work very well because we got a question mark, but we can try it. As numeric, DF treatment 1, and it just gave us a little warning. NA is introduced by coercion. So that first one, it didn't know how to convert a question mark into a number because there is no way. And so it just changed it to NA. That's good behavior. So let's overwrite the first column there. DF treatment 1 is now as numeric DF treatment 1. Now we can do our pivot longer. So read in Excel sheet with read Excel SX. Convert treatment 1 column to numeric. Convert to long format. Okay, but we didn't save this, so I'm going to go to the beginning here and say this is DF clean. Well, it's not quite clean yet, is it? So DF, it's at least long. If I look at DF long, what's wrong with it here?
Is it that it's treating the treatment as a character and we want it to be a numeric again?
We can let it be a character if we really want, because it is a treatment, it's categorical, but if it was numeric, we'd want to pay attention to that. And so we can convert that into numeric if we want. But what I don't like about it is that it's space 1, right? This could be like treatment A and treatment B, but there's a space there in front of it. That's going to get confusing. It may mess up our code if we forget about that. So the mass in grams, that looks good. Treatment space 1. The reason it's doing that is because I told it the names prefix is treatment, and so it's going to remove that. Okay. If I took out this little section right there, Control X, and look at DF long, you see that it's leaving in treatment 1, treatment 2, treatment 1, treatment 2. So there's 2 observations for each sample ID. So sample A was observed under treatment 1 and treatment 2, but there's a space, okay? So the idiot entering this data put a space in the name of the column. That's never a good idea. So we want to remove that space. The way I did this here is I said, okay, when you're making the treatment column, they are all going to have a prefix, and that's treatment, but I forgot that after treatment is a space. So now I look at it, that looks better. It is okay in this case that they're a character vector, but I just really didn't want that space in there. Okay, I see a couple hands.
Hi, I have a question. If nobody
Okay.
else. Having trouble getting everything to match like yours. So I have library, read Excel, got that. Got tidyverse open.
Okay.
I assigned the read to DF. All right. And then the next part is where it starts breaking. I have the treatment in green with those little quotations around it.
Oh, yeah. So the reason it worked for me is because I did $, and then use the drop-down menu, and you'll see that when I hit enter there, since there's a space in the column name, R doesn't like spaces. It really doesn't. But there is a space in this column name. Those aren't quotes. Those are actually the backtick, so it's on the same key as your tilde. It's not a single quote, it's backtick. So this is quotes, and those will be green, double quotes, green, backtick.
So there must be something else wrong because I'm not getting a drop-down menu. Does that mean you didn't read it in?
Share your screen real fast. Let's see what's going on.
Okay. Let's see here. All right, so I already had tidyverse before, then I had library, read it, and then signed it, and then when I do a df, $, tab, no matches.
Okay.
You can see it pulled it up down here when I did the read. Oh, sorry.
Okay, that looks good. Run the next line, 293. There you go. Now the drop-down menu should work.
Oh,
You had just accidentally not run line 293.
okay. How do I exit out of this? There we go.
All right. Okay. So yeah, keep that in mind. If you do have spaces in your column names, first off, never do that on purpose. You'll have to deal with it with other people's data, but please be a part of the solution. Be one of the good people. Don't put spaces in column names ever because you have to deal with these backticks. They're quite annoying, and it does throw errors at you. Okay. So I'm gonna do Control-Alt-B here, run everything again, make sure it's working nice. Okay, we've got df long. It's in a nice, tidy format. So now I'm ready to plot it. ggplot. df long. Aesthetic. What should my x be? Another way of asking this, what variable do you think was actually of interest to the people who did this fake study?
With the mass.
Yeah, the mass. So that's going to be your y-axis. So we can just start with that if we really want. Y equals mass underscore g. Okay. What do you think my x should be? Not a trick question.
What's the treatment?
Sure, we'll go treatment. Okay. And I'll move this to the next line. Geom, I don't know, box plot. That's not going to work very well, but we can try it. Okay. We're still missing some information that is probably of interest. We could color by sample ID, perhaps, or sample ID could be our x-axis. Maybe we don't care what the samples are, but we could always throw that in as like a color aesthetic. This will get a bit ugly, I'm guessing. Color equals sample ID. Yeah, that's ugly. Okay, I don't like it. Control Z, Control Z. All right. Your takeaway from this should be to see why we want our data in that nice long format. It's because when it comes time to plot it or do stats, we want to feed the names of columns. And if there's a variable of interest, like treatment, that can't be spread out over multiple columns. Otherwise, we can't plot it like this. There'd be no way to show this on ggplot by calling, oh, our x-axis should be treatment. Okay, so we want each variable to be its own single column. Questions about this? Kind of a lot of info.
Okay, after on line 11, after df, that's our data, and then 2, 3, what is that for again?
Oh, those are the columns that we wanted. So if I look at df, I'm basically telling it, you can tell it by the names, or if you're lazy like I just was, you can give it the column positions. I'm saying that, hey, this is the variable that's spread out over multiple columns. Here are the columns that it's spread onto. So we got a variable called treatment that's spread across columns 2 and 3. So I'm saying that the stuff you should be stacking on top of each other in pivot longer are columns 2 and 3. There are lots of ways that you could call these columns. So we could do, we could just make a list. Treatment 1 and treatment 2. Treatment. Oh, I misspelled it. Okay. So I was just being a bit lazy there and saying it's columns 2 and 3 that need to be stacked on top of each other. So maybe I should. That's the data frame. The names or positions of columns that you want to stack. That is new column name. And this here tells R to remove this prefix. And I'll spread this out over a few lines so it's easier for you to see. This prefix, name of observations, new name of variable. That's probably a better way to put it.
So how is doing the names to treatments and the values to math G different from just labeling our X and Y axis using like labs?
Oh, you could still do that. If I take these out, so if I highlight these two rows and hit Control-Shift-C to comment them out, okay, and then I run this, if I look at df long now, it just gave it the generic built-in name and value. that might get confusing to you if you don't remember what they are. This is just a convenient way of telling it what to call them.
Okay, so that's actually editing it in the data frame, not
Yeah,
on
it's
the.
editing it, the name of that column. So you could make these whatever you want. Okay, so the names to is essentially the name of the variable that you actually care about that's spread out over a bunch of different columns. And the values to is the name of the measurement that you took at each one of those variables. So that gives us this. You can see how it just basically repeats. So there's 2 observations for every sample ID. One of them under treatment 1, one under treatment 2, and then here's the measured mass for that.
So we had a treatment 1 and a treatment 2 before. Did we just using those names to condense those into just treatments?
That's what this line right here does. Oh, wait. So like in DF, it was called treatment 1 and treatment 2.
Yeah. Is that just all under treatments now?
Yeah, it's all under treatment. And instead of it being, because it'll draw the names from your columns by default. So that would have been listed as like, instead of 1, 2, 1, 2, it would be treatment 1, treatment 2, treatment 1, treatment 2.
Okay, I see now.
To get rid of that kind of annoying behavior, I told it that there's a prefix. And so just go ahead and remove treatment space. So if I take this part out and run this, you can see it took the names of these columns and took them from their wide format to long, it stacked them, and then just repeated them as many times as necessary to get all the observations.
Didn't
So
we do
treatment
string
1.
remove before to do that? To take
Yep.
those out?
This is just like a convenient built-in way of doing it. We could do string remove if we wanted, but this is a bit faster. You do it all in kind of one step. This way only works, though, if the prefix is the same on all of them.
On both columns.
Right. If one of them was treatment with a lowercase t and one was treatment with a capital T, this wouldn't work.
And I take it the data you're going to get probably is going to have errors like that.
It will. So yeah. The data you get will have one of them as treatment 1, and the next one will be treatment 2 with 3 random spaces after it that you can't see in Excel, but your computer definitely knows about. That's the format that you're going to get stuff in out in the wild. Okay. So be ready for that, and that's what the string remove, string replace, those kind of tools will help you kind of like clean those up. But they are more time consuming than if you have it treated nicely like this. We'll get practice with even uglier data than this, don't worry. Other questions? What can I help you understand that I'm not explaining very well? Nothing? I'm the perfect teacher. I got it right the first time. That's exciting. I deserve an award. No. Just yell at me if something's not clicking or if there's anything muddy here.
What exactly is a string?
What is a string?
Yes.
It's a character class.
Okay.
So a string is anything inside of quotes. Luckily, Tidyverse gives us a bunch of different functions that work with strings really well. So we can count across a string, we can detect patterns in strings, extract certain bits of a string by pattern, glue them together like a little paste function, locate, match. We can pad around a string, so we can like add spaces to the end or beginning, remove stuff, replace things, split strings. Okay, so these are all nice little tools that we can get practice with as we get uglier and uglier data.
So this is my understanding of what we just went over. Essentially, everything from line 14 down to 17 is just cleaning stuff up and renaming it. The big thing was pivot longer did most of the heavy lifting of actually changing it for us to name it better.
Yeah. You don't have to do any of these 3 lines right here. We could have ended our pivot longer right after telling it the data frame and the positions or names of the columns we wanted to combine into one.
Okay, so if we didn't list those 2 columns, would it have just pivoted everything? Or do you have to give it specific?
It really wants the names or the positions of those columns. So let's see here. Pivot longer. So if we just do that, we tell it the data frame and we tell it the names of the columns to squish together into one variable, you'll see it'll work, it'll do it. It just calls them name and value by default. Here, I told it to call it treatment and mass G, just because I'm a human. I happen to know that's what those were. If I don't tell it anything, I just say pivot longer df. It says no, you gotta pick. You have to select at least one column.
Got it. Next, are we going? Do you use pivot to combine? Would you use pivot for columns that are expressing different things? So let's say you had treatment 1 and then some other sort of variable like day. You wouldn't use pivot for those 2. You're using pivot on 2 things that are the same variable that somebody just happened to put in different lines.
Or different columns.
Or columns.
Yes. It's got to be the same variable. So if you have multiple variables spread out across multiple columns, you're going to have to do pivot more than once. That's a good question. Let's look through what that would look like. So we've got df, treatment 1, treatment 2. I'm going to go ahead. This is what, 13 rows long. Okay. So I'm going to say df day 1. How would I do this? I'm trying to think of another variable. Might actually be easier in Excel to do a bad job at. Okay, day 1, day 2, day 3. Treatment 1, treatment 2. Oh, this is really going to be ugly.
And while you're doing this, can you use pivot on things, or I should say columns, of the same variables that are not next to each other? So could you specify 2 and 7?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would just have to do that, by name like this in a little vector.
So you can only use the colon in between them if they're next to each other.
2:7 gives you all those values.
Oh, in between. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So if you wanted just 2 and 7, you have to stick them together like that. And that's a good point. You're probably going to find data where it's spread out across columns where definitely doesn't belong, and they're not even next to each other. Let's try another example. This one is a CSV data. It's called biolog plate data.csv. Okay. So it's in your data folder, biolog plate data.csv, so we can read that one in nice and simply. Let's take a look at it. We got 1,152 rows, 8 columns. A biolog plate is like a clear plate with a bunch of wells in it, and each one of those wells is preloaded with a specific carbon source. And so you take a sample, like whether it's from a river or some soil or whatever, you add it to that, and the carbon source is actually tagged with a little label, so as it gets utilized, it will fluoresce. And so this is a way of seeing what microbial communities can utilize in terms of carbon. So it's a way of looking at the functional potential of a given environment. So soils from 2 locations, you can see, oh, the microbes in here are capable of utilizing these, because it just fluoresces. You put it in a little machine and it reads the absorbance value. Great. So what we've got here are some samples. So Clear Creek, oh, it's a lot of data. Soil 1, wastewater, and soil 2. Okay, we've got different replicates. This is showing the well that they're in, the position. This is the dilution. So we did this a bunch of different times at different dilutions. And then the substrate is referring to the carbon source. Okay, so these are different carbon sources, and water is the negative control. Okay. Then we measured it 3 times. So at 24 hours, 48 hours, and 144 hours. We measured it, and this is the absorbance reading. Okay. It's not ready to plot. What's wrong with it? Can you guess?
So the H1, H2, H3 might be a problem since it's got a character and a number. Maybe it's reading those wrong.
That's like a positional, like it's A through H, 1 through 8 or whatever. So it's like saying A1 is this position, A2 is that position. So those can actually stay the way they are. And in any case, that's not super important for the study. We don't actually care what well they're from. We care about the dilution, the substrate, and these measurements over time.
Well, first of all, the measurements over time could be pivoted long so that you have 24, 48, 144.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, they have to be, because time is the variable there. If we care about it at all as a variable of interest, it's got to be in long format for plotting the way we want to. So do that. Make this into nice long format. So pivot longer. Our data is DF2. What do I tell it next?
the columns that you want to use. So that would be the hour columns, whichever ones those ones are.
Yeah. So let's make a little list of them. So our calls is concatenate. I believe they are HR24, HR48, HR144. Okay. HR24, HR48, HR1, what's it? 144. Put those in quotes because they are names, they're not objects. Okay. So then I can just say HR calls. Then what do I want? I'll spread this out.
What do you want to name them to?
All right. Names to. What should we name?
For like 24 hours. Wait. Well, it's up to you.
Hours over time, something like that.
So it's just these three columns that we're going to give a single name to. I'm going to say hours or time because that's the variable we measured. Names to time, sure. So we're naming our variable. And then values to, this is where we name our measurement. And in this case, what is it? What are these numbers representing?
Absorbance.
Absorbance, yep. Okay. Now, since they're all named somewhat handily with this prefix HR underscore, we can also names prefix HR underscore. So we can have it remove that automatically for us. Okay, so this will be df2 long. What happened? Okay. So let's see it. df2 long. All right, this is looking good. We've got time, we've got absorbance. So it's ready to plot now. What should we do to plot this? ggplot. df2 long, nice long tidy format. Our aesthetics, x, time. We're looking at absorbance over time. Y equals absorbance. Okay. Color equals substrate. Maybe? Sure. Plus geom smooth. that didn't work out. Ooh, what's wrong with that? In my plot, it went from 144 to 24 to 48. That's not how numbers are supposed to work. And it also didn't make a plot. I promise this is going to happen to you all the time, so be ready for it. Learn to recognize this error. What's going on? Why are our numbers not working the way numbers should?
They're characters.
Yeah, they're characters. So we need to fix that first. So df2 long $ time is, copy that, and as numeric df2 long time. That is the number of hours. So I run that. Then it should work. Whoa. All right, so you're all getting pretty good at graphing now. How can I improve this plot? I'm going to show you the names again. That's just way too much information in one plot. We're not really learning anything, right? What do you think the point of this study was? We were comparing different environmental samples. We had 4 of those. So Clear Creek, wastewater, soil 1, and soil 2. So we can do a facet as a function of sample.id. That should give us 4 little plots. So that's, now we're starting to learn something about our systems here, right? Clear Creek was able to utilize fewer of those carbon sources than soil 1, wastewater, or soil 2. Okay. It's still a bit ugly of a plot, so I'm going to say theme minimal, and for GM smooth, I'm going to say SE equals false. So that'll get rid of the error bars, the standard error. So we'll just have our beautiful lines there. Okay.
Hold up. I'm still trying to catch up here. Can you scroll up a few lines in your code? For some reason, I'm not getting the ggplot to work at all here. I must have missed something.
Okay, so let me condense this so you can see all of it, or I'll just spread this.
No, I didn't do the hour columns. I just did, instead of that, I did 6:8.
Oh, okay.
Why wouldn't that work?
Are they 6 through 8? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. So that should work. 6 through 8 right there.
Mm-hmm. I have names 2, I'll just put in my code in chat.
Okay, I'll take a look at it. Okay, I'm gonna copy and paste this into mine. Okay, df2. Names df2 long doesn't belong there because we don't have it yet. df2 long time doesn't belong there because we don't have it yet. Okay. So pivot longer. df2 6 to 8 names of time, values absorbance, prefixes. Okay. Then time and abundance. df2 long time is as numeric. Huh. Watch this, you're gonna love it. You misspelled absorbance
Oh my gosh.
in values 2, but you spelled it correctly down here, and so it couldn't find it. So
You're freaking kidding me.
this error gave me that. Object absorbance not found. So I was like, it should
Yeah,
be in there. So I went and looked, and no, it was missing a B.
I saw that error and I'm like, how is that possible?
It's only possible because of a misspelling. Yep. Finding those gets faster, I promise. You start to like see the same errors over and over. Let's see. Control
Right, try running that code now that it's in there because I got another error.
Oh,
It said Lois in formula Y by X or something like that.
all right. So bump, bump, bump.
Oh, you got the
It's
C.
working.
Oh, okay,
It's
so that
just
was
taking,
an error.
it's taking its time. It's got 3,456 rows to actually calculate at this point because we made it even longer. And so it just takes a little time. This is saying that the geom smooth that you're drawing on there, that smoothing line, by default, it's using the method low-s, and that's just the type of curve. It's that like continuing like it's a point average that kind of follows, tracks your data, and the formula is y as a function of x. So it's just kind of giving you a little information. All right. But throwing a facet wrap and a theme minimal on there, and especially doing the SE equals false, getting rid of that standard error bar, the grayed out area, makes this a much more readable plot. Okay. Well, we are out of time today. Your assignment. Come on. There we go. Read through these two papers. They're linked right there. The tidy data chapter and the transforming data frames. On Monday, we're going to jump right into this transforming data frame stuff. So I want you to be prepared with filter, arrange, select, mutate, and group. Okay. These, I also covered this group by and summarize workflow in the test walkthrough because I showed you two different ways to do that bonus problem at the end of the exam. One with for loops and one with nice tidyverse group by and summarize that makes it really easy. So be prepared for class on Monday by reading through and working through the code on this site. Okay. Questions?
Yeah, can you leave up the code a little bit longer? I need to still copy the rest of it with the facets.
Oh, I'll just copy it all and stick it in our Teams channel. in the copy paste code area. Oops. Edit. Okay. That's there for you. So practice on this, practice on the Y data example. That chapter here, Tidy Data, will also show you how to do this for some other built-in data sets. So definitely work through it. Make sure you kind of are comfy with it, understand what's happening, why we do long data, how to easily get it there, and make plots from it. And then your preparation for Monday is this one, the data transformations. So this whole chapter here. We're going to be, you've already seen filter, but we'll go over that again. We'll look at arrange, select, mutate, group by, and summarize. So we'll cover quite a bit of material on Monday. All right, anything else I can help you guys with? Anyone who's still around? All right. Have a good one.
Wait, hold up.
Yep.
All right, so for when we did facet wrap, and we did the sample IDs, it separated out all the substrates, right, and showed us all the different substrate names. Is that what the facet wrap did?
The facet wrap gave us one for each of the values found in sample ID, which was Clear Creek, Soil 1, Soil 2, and wastewater.
Oh, that's okay. Mine just might be. All right, when I ran the code, it didn't show that up. So something's wrong. I'll just go and find it. Okay, never mind.
It's probably here in the facet wrap you forgot a plus right there, or you misspelled
I did,
sample
yes.
dot ID. Okay. Yep.
Dr. Zahn,
Yes.
so both assignment 5 and 6 are due on Sunday, right?
Yes.
And the ugly plot.
And the ugly plot. Yep.
Cool. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
See ya.